Welcome to another episode of the 100% podcast with me, your host, Harry Purdy. And today I am delighted to welcome me to the show. Today I promise to bring you an episode on 300 days, no alcohol, the lessons, the insights, and the benefits of going the whole of 2025 without drinking. 300 days was a bit of a milestone for me, and the reason I wanted to bring this up and do a podcast episode on it was for the sheer fact of the amount of people that kind of applauded me, said well done, asked me a few questions on the back of it regarding is it a full-time thing, and a couple questions regarding was there a problem before, and all of those kind of things as to why I'm doing 300 days no alcohol. And why was it a big milestone for me? It was a big milestone for me because it was the furthest I'd gone into the sobriety streak since obviously being a kid to the first time I had a drink. I would imagine within that time frame there's not been 300 days where I've not had a pint or a little bottle of beer or a can or whatever. And I think it's important to identify that. And I think, without sounding preachy, because I don't want to be scientific or preachy on the podcast today, I want to share my message of why I found it beneficial and why you might do too. And one of the things there is, I do want to give you a bit of background about me and alcohol. Is there's never been really a problem, just as the similar stuff that we've all done, right? When I say all of us, I mean United Kingdom, really high likelihood that your family and your friends involve a lot of big occasions around alcohol. Family parties probably had alcohol involved, blah, blah, blah. And I'm similar. So when I was kind of 13, 12, 13, 14, 15, whatever the age was, it would have been in and around there, that I was at family parties, me and my cousins would kind of like plead to have a little bottle, a little stubby of French beer, right? And of course, the family would, like, being merry and whatever, they'd let us have one and blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of, when you're young, you think that you're cool by doing it, don't you? So that's definitely part of it. And then growing up, like in school and stuff, I remember obviously the fake IDs being a thing, so you'd be able to get alcohol for house parties and things like that. And then you kind of like I guess I was like, one of my friends, Rob, used to say I was a 30-year-old in an 18-year-old's body, or 30-year-old in a 16-year-old's body, which is probably true, right? I'd been in and around pubs a lot of my life. I used to do something called sticking up. So if you're not from Somerset or Dorset, you probably don't know what that is. There's a game in the south of England called Skittles, where basically blokes throw a stone ball down an alley and they get knocked over, and then I would stick them up and I'd get paid for that, but I would always be in and around alcohol. And even to the extent where I was going out as a kid, really, when you look back at it, I was a kid, and it was like the smoking times as well. So I'd come back and my clothes would stink. I'd probably smell of alcohol as well. Obviously, I wasn't drinking, but just that environment. So I was always surrounded by it. And my dad worked in the local working men's club when I was a kid as well. So, like, for some shifts, I'd go down, I'd watch like his mates play pool. I'd sit there, I'd play darts and watch the football. And it's just something that I've always been around, which therefore, whether you like it or not, is going to breed you into some form of habits. So then getting older, like all of the usual stuff that you would do as a 18, 19, 20, 21 year old, big nights out, especially with regards to the football team that I played for at the time. We had a real good social group. There'd always be things going on, like every few months, big nights out. And then obviously the bad occasions where it didn't go to plan, you'd not feel very well, be ill on a night out. And I grew out of that phase pretty quickly. And then throughout my life, there's always just been a reason to have a drink. And it wasn't until I started looking into my own health, when I was depressed, low, anxious, a lot of neglection of my sleep, a lot of neglection of my health, obviously, a lot of neglection of like my nutrition. And I guess alcohol would have been part of that neglection. Like it would have been a thing that would have still been a regular habit that I was undertaking, whether it be with ex-girlfriends or like there would always be an excuse, like go away for a weekend, have a few beers, go to a family event, have a few beers, go to the Christmas party, have a few beers, and it all sounds so normal. But what I wanted to do was break that trend. So in 2023, I broke the trend for the first time, and I did 5 months. And last year I did from basically it was up until my mate's stag do, which I think was in May. So I did 2 sets of 5 months, and in some ways I always regretted not continuing the pattern, because when you go sober for a little bit of time, you build up that momentum and then you get rid of it, and then the old kind of habits drop back in. So you go down the pub and watch football, which is another big part of why I used to drink, right? If I used to go watch Chelsea home or away, or even go down to the pub and watch a game, a couple pints, and those kind of habits. But I wanted to stop that, and when I broke the 5 months, so I drank for a stag do, which actually was the two things that cropped up on both occasions that I stopped it. I always kind of regretted it. Not because, like, it was a bad time. I just think inside me, there was a part of me that wanted to do a real long time, like a year, for example, without drink. And I didn't actually get around to doing it because of me thinking that maybe I'd get judged, or it's the normal thing to do, so it's fine. Like, just have those beers, you'll be okay. And yeah, I wanted to stop that. So that's the reason why I did it. So if there's a brief 6-minute background of why I decided to do this whole year without drinking, right? It's been a thing that I've wanted to do for a good few years. So what have been the big wins for the period of time so far? And the reason as well, going back to the start of the pod, why I think 300 days is a massive milestone for me. I don't think now there's any way in a million years that I would not have something to drink. Sorry, that I would have something to drink by the end of 2025. I mean, come on, what I'm going to do moving forward at the end of the show. So, first big win. This is an obvious one, right? But I think it's really important. I've no doubt saved a lot of money over this year with not drinking. So, if you think on average, maybe I spent I don't know, 150 quid a month or £200 a month on booze, whether that be like drinks and food on a night out or proper nights out. I've saved that money, right? So you're already looking at £2,000 there, which I've invested in other areas. We won't hold on to that point for too long. Number 2, it has helped me get physically fitter. So if you look back at my trajectory of my journey, although the weight loss focus has stopped now, I never really, I wouldn't say worried, but focused solely on my aesthetics. And leaving alcohol out this year definitely enabled me to get into the best physical shape that I have ever gotten into for my photo shoot. It's left me feeling a little bit more confident with the fact that I know that I'm not undoing hard work by binge drinking behaviors at weekends that then not only leave you feeling flat and fatigued and obviously hungover coming out of the weekend, they enable you to have that high energy to keep these good habits that I talk about on a day-to-day basis. Which then leads me to the third point. It 1,000,000% has given me more productive days than I would have had if I was continuing the habits that I kind of had at the end of last year, right? When I would drink, there would be no question that I would feel it more than I would used to feel it as a younger pup with booze, and then that would slow my progression down later parts of going into the start of the week, and then it wouldn't be until the later parts of the week where I'd start to kind of shake it off and feel okay. And one thing that I always, a bit of self-doubt and questioning here, is when people say, I don't really feel that bad when I have loads of drinks, or no, I don't really notice it, blah, blah, blah. my question here, and it's just a question, it's not a criticism or whatever. Do you really know how it feels to go a stretch without drinking, that you do really feel really fucking good, that to notice it? That's my question, because I'm like, well, I would 1,000,000% notice it now if I was to have some drink. But yeah, the productivity for me and like how I can be with people, even my mood, it's not affecting my sleep. The productivity that it's led to this year with the things that I have done and have achieved, and things that I'm gonna achieve for the rest of this year, is really cool. And that's not a flex. That's just I know that maybe if I was to like go into the festive period now, as I would do, I am going away in December, but if I was to do that as I would do normally, you're looking at like 2 days every other week that I would lose on the productivity scale. So if we say there's 10 weeks left of 2025, like half that 5 times 2, I'd lose 10 days, right? Again, moving on. Number 4 is another element where I've had to really dial in on my discipline, and it has enabled me to prove that I can be disciplined, maybe more I say under pressure. At no real point have I felt fully under pressure with doing this year without a drink. But there are times where I could have cracked, like stag do's, like engagement parties, like holidays, like trips away, like parties, all of this regular stuff. And I just haven't, because I know the disappointment that I would feel if I would do that. The goal and the end milestone is way bigger than that pint. It's so much more, like, it gives me so much more confidence and self-respect, I guess, to know that I'm going to, and I am following through with this 5 years no booze. And then the next thing as well, which I think is really important, is I've broke a habit of a lifetime, right? I've spoken to you about the background. I've spoken to you about, but like my life, and my family may listen to this podcast, right? But I love them to bits. But we are a social family. Like, everything has always evolved and revolved around booze. And it's really, it takes a lot of self-awareness and looking inside, I think, to notice that you're just breaking that mold a little bit and pulling yourself away from it. And I have broke a trend of a lifetime that now I know that I can do it. It doesn't necessarily need to be the norm. And one thing that I said I didn't want to do is link things to like the science behind it, right? There's so many better people than me to talk to you about the reasons that alcohol does affect your health way more than what is kind of in the public domain and spoken about commonly, because of the narrative that alcohol has, right? It is a normal thing to do. So if you are intrigued and you're like, I wonder what is under the surface, I wonder what studies there have been. A couple of the places that I would go and listen to, I'd go and listen to Dapper Laughs and his, what's his name now? Daniel O'Reilly. I'd listen to him and how he talks about alcohol and how he's managed to cut back and all of those kind of things. And then I'd also go and listen to, if you want a more scientific approach, I'd go and listen to Andrew Huberman, who will give you way more in-depth detail about how it impacts your sleep, the extra effects it has on women, and like negative effects, obviously, and all of those things as well. So just wanted to chuck that in the middle of the pod. Hello, YouTube. I'm stopping you in the middle of this episode because a lot of you who stick around and watch my podcast episodes aren't yet subscribed. So do me a favor before you carry on watching the rest of this episode and just click the subscribe button. And you don't even need to watch every episode, but what it does do is it boosts this channel and it helps me a long, long way. Enjoy the rest of the show. Other little points that I've wrote down, I've got my notebook ready here. So when it comes to breaking the mold and doing something different to maybe what your peer group's not used to, your family's not used to, you may get asked a lot of questions. And I certainly have. Like, I think one of the most real real conversations I've had was with my mate Lewis on the way to London. We were going up for a weekend in London, which normally for me would be like a weekend on the beers. But I decided, of course, this year that it wasn't going to be that. And obviously there is intrigue, like, because there is intrigue, right? Because he knows that there's never been like a real big problem. It's like are you not going to just have a couple, blah, blah, blah. And I think, like, from the bottom of my heart, if you have people that you hold in high esteem and people that you, who you consider to be close mates, they will understand, right? They will get it. And like, thankfully for me, my family and friends, they understand. Even my dad now, like, he's like, at the start it's like, why? And now he's like, oh, you're like doing really well. In fact, to the point where my dad now has cut back his drinking like exponentially as well. So these things that you do can have positive impacts on other people as well, right? So yeah, that's one of my points there, and one of the main points there is that when you think about your close people and what they may think about it, yes, they might ask you, "Oh, why are you doing that?" Or what's the reason behind it? Like, you don't have a problem or anything, mate. It's okay to have a few. When you explain your reason why, I just want to like break a mold, prove that I'm disciplined, be more productive in my weeks, feel better at work, not ruin my sleep, get my mental health back on track, not feel anxious on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Help me. I want to get fitter. I want to feel better. I want to look better. I want to save some money. When you say all of that and they go, oh yeah, fair enough. They're the real ones, right? But if they're like, oh, fucking hell, mate, just have a pint, maybe that's an environment problem, which again, we don't need to necessarily speak about on the podcast today, because we've got so many other pods and episodes where we speak about your environment. But maybe that's an environment problem and they're not necessarily as close as you thought they would be, because in my opinion, your close mates and families, members will like support you with whatever you do, but they are allowed to ask questions, right? Okay, next little point. Start small, right? I did that. When you think about this journey of whatever, like journey of 100%, journey of not drinking. I've done dry Januaries before. I've done 5 months without alcohol before, and now I'm going full flex for a whole year without booze. Choose your poison. Like, and I think start small. If you look at the big goal, it's like any kind of big goal, right? Look at big goal. I want to do this, you know, like Harry's giving me a bit of inspiration here. I want to do a whole year. I want to break the mold. I want to do 2026 no drink, or even start now and finish on the 3rd of November 2026. Choose a month first, because when you break things down, big goals down into little chunks, they become more manageable. And that's definitely the case with what I've done with 2025 no drink, is I have chopped it down into manageable chunks that have then like almost led the rest of the year to be easy. Okay, so that's my little takeaway and take home for you there. The next thing, when it comes to planning your nights out and social events, is that obviously, again, you're going to get the questions, you're going to get the little bit of peer pressure, and that's where the discipline comes in. That's where the big goal of like why is really important at the end. But planning your exits and having a strategy before you even go out is really important. And I think it's really, like, I speak a lot about being authentic, right? Being yourself, and I don't think you should have to hide it. I don't think you should lie and be like, oh, I'm just on antibiotics or blah, blah, blah. I think you should give people the reasons of why you're not drinking and state it. I'm not drinking right now. And here's the reason why, because I'm doing X, Y, and Z tomorrow. You can have those reasons there, but I think being authentic and just saying outright, like, I'm not drinking, is really cool. But what's amazing about it is you can plan your exit, you get home at a reasonable time, and you're in control, because you're more than likely going to be driving, aren't you? So having that in place and having your strategy about what it is that you're going to say when somebody says, oh, do you want a drink? And you're like, oh, I'm not drinking. They're like, oh, why? Like, you know, because I've got a day out with X, Y, and Z tomorrow, and we're doing this, this, and this. I want to feel my best. I don't want to feel tired, lethargic, and grumpy or moody going into that event. So, and then but if you do want to lift home, I am driving tonight. So you can kind of get like you can like sweeten people up with that as well. Okay. The last little thing that I've put down here before we wrap things up is how I handled a stag do. And it's similar to what I kind of just said about there. I went to that stag do in Portugal this year, really questioning what people would say, what people would think of me. Would people think that I'm boring? Would I get like my arm twisted and somebody like push it on me and I'd be like, oh, all right then. But actually, it's the first time that I kind of realised that doing something that does break the mold a little bit does get people's respect. Like people who I would never consider would give me compliments on the stag do did do. It would create more intriguing conversation about like mental health, about their own journeys with like cutting back on booze, or like how they actually do the same, but they do still do the big events, and how I'm handling it. And obviously it was one of the first few ones that I'd done a big event like a stag do, and I'd gone no drink. But I found actually being really upfront about it straight away. Like first bar we went into, boom, down on the table goes a bottle of alcohol-free beer. Brings the conversation out. You handle it straight away. And there was a fair few people on the stag do, so I had to speak to them all. Like, I didn't have to speak to them all, sorry. It brought conversation up with a lot of people. And you know what? Some people didn't even care. And that's, I think, one of the biggest lessons that like I've learnt this year is actually when it comes down to authenticity and pushing the message. And like sometimes my message can be cheesy, but I don't care because I genuinely believe in it. It doesn't really matter because the people that are interested will ask. And the ones that are just there to get pissed and have a good time for their mate's stag do or whatever it is, the Christmas party or the hen do, will just get on with whatever they want to do anyway. So really being open and honest and just like being upfront and authentic and actually just wearing that badge on your chest, like I am doing this. This is like what I've decided to do, will get you more respect than maybe trying to hide it and like pretending that you've got like a G&T and a lemonade or whatever it is, right? Which I have done before. Don't mind saying that. And actually, going back to tips of how you can take it into the future, although it's like you don't necessarily need to lie, right? But you can hide the fact that you don't have a drink by having a drink in your hand that looks like a drink, so people don't ask you if you're drinking or what you're drinking or blah blah blah, or try and buy you a drink, right? You can just say, I've got one, thank you, cheers. And I think that's a nice little habit that you can use at the start when you're just trying to like work things out, work people out who you hang out with, all of those kind of things. Other little thing as well on the stag do was that if I was to give a negative from it, not negative, just a lesson from it, because I was in Albufeira and it was loud and like the music played till 4 a.m, even when I came back I felt tired. So that wasn't the biggest thing that I've done to notice it. Actually, it's just been all of the little events where I've come back to my own bed, I've woke up on Sunday and I've gone, or Saturday morning, I'm like, oh fuck me, I feel so good today, which is really good. And the other thing as well was like, it doesn't mean that you still can't have fun, right? And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I actually think it's enabling me to show I mean I don't want to explain what I'm like as a drunk, right? But I would say that I try and be more funny. Like I want to be like crack a joke, you know, the bants, you know. And when it comes to being sober, is you can like you feel like you're in control of that a little bit more, and you can hold back. And I think it just like I think some people would consider that when you don't drink, you're not fun. Whereas I would disagree with that, and maybe that's just maybe that is just my personality coming through. But I don't think it is. I think that you can enhance an event without drink. You just got to practice it and be comfortable with being who you are, which comes from like self-respect, confidence, which we've done other episodes on, and being authentic and being okay with who you are, or being accepting of who you are in public, social circumstances, social events. And yeah, like not being fun is one of the actual least considerations that I would think about as a challenge within this 300 days plus that I've done without booze. So moving on to the final point of the show, I did get asked a multiple amount of times what my plan moving forward is. And I genuinely can't tell you what the plan of action for 2026 is going to be. Like, I don't have a plan of action for 2026. I don't want to like pencil down. Like, some people have said, "Oh, are you going to pop open a bottle, or are you going to have a Guinness on New Year's Day or at 12:01 on?" And I'm like, "Nah, like honestly, I feel good, right? I've literally given you way more than 5 reasons as to why this has benefited me this year. Why would I want to break that, right? For essentially nothing." And I don't think that it's not as though I don't think I'll drink again, because I do think that I'll have a drink again. I think that I am a social person. I do enjoy social events with people. I like to think that it's a celebratory thing, which again, if we link back to the start, the background of me is probably it is the mold, it is the family, it is all of those kind of things. But I don't want to definitely say that I am going to drink too, right? I think I will, but I'm not going to definitely say I will, because when I go to drink, there's always going to be that element about me now that's like, oh, maybe I will, maybe I won't. But there's genuinely no time frame, no point that I'm like, I'm definitely going to drink on this event. There's one thing in the diary that's on my mind right now. I don't even mind saying it out loud. It's Fraser, my cousin Fraser's stag do. I'm pretty sure it's next year. In my head, I'm like, I wouldn't mind having a drink on that because of the crowd that I'm with and all of those kind of things. But it genuinely would have to be a really special occasion for me to do so. But yeah, that's my plans moving forward. I think what's really important here is there's so many links that this could link to, right? It could be that you do maybe find yourself saying yes to alcohol more than you would like to. It may be that you want to just chat to somebody about the possibilities of going no drink. There may be possibilities that you actually think that like the alcohol that you're drinking is having an impact on your mental health. You want to find out all about what I've done and how I've done it. Like, genuinely, my DMs are open. I'd love you to drop in if you have questions. Please don't be afraid to do that. And I would love to know also if you have done anything similar yourself. If you are looking to do something similar yourself, make sure you tag me in the comments of the YouTube video or the Spotify comments as well, just to like say, "Oh, Harry, I'm going to give this a go next year," or like even your biggest thing that you took away from this episode. That'd be really, really cool. But that's it. That's what I wanted to get out there today to share with you. Hopefully some insight and some value as to what you can do to do it yourself. The biggest take homes that I've had, the biggest wins that I've had over this last 300 plus days without booze. And it will be a whole year without alcohol on the 1st of January. But I'm actually that confident that I'm happy to release this episode now. So if you have enjoyed today's episode, please go over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you're listening, and drop a 5-star review and a comment. It goes a long, long way to helping the show. And if you watch on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe below. It, again, really helps the algorithm. Drop me a comment. Let me know your biggest takeaway, and I'll see you here with a new episode every Friday. Take care.